In this episode, we're going to be diving into 5 proven methods for you to stick to your plan. What's up, friends? Paul here, and welcome to The Beautiful Mess, where we talk about tools and tactics to improve your life. I'm your host, Paul Didis, a YouTuber and content creator who's super excited today to talk to you about ways to stick to your plan, strategies that you can use to make sure that you succeed on your goals. And before we dive into that, I want to actually, this is related to that, but I want to introduce our sponsor of today's episode, the Finisher's Secrets newsletter, which gives you actionable tips that you can use week to week to improve your productivity. So if that's something that you're interested in learning about, just go to finishersecrets.com/Paul. Again, that's finishersecrets.com/Paul. I'll also put a link in the show notes so you can check that out as well. But basically, this actionable tip is brought to you by the Finisher Secrets. This is one of the actionable tips that they've given in the past. So we're going to go over this one, which is about 5 proven ways to make sure that you stick to your plan, even if you are lazy. So if you're lazy, don't worry, we've got something for you. So strategy number 1 is actually probably one of my favorites, is kiss it. Keep it. And I'll use the version that Javier has. I've heard a couple different versions. By the way, Javier is the founder of Finisher Secrets. And he also made this awesome t-shirt, Be Smart. What does it say? Be smart. No one cares about your efforts, only the results. So, don't waste your time putting in all this energy and effort if you don't get the outcome that you're looking for. Make sure that you're putting in the effort to get those results that matter. So that's important, is the end result. And sometimes you can get there faster. And that's one of the big things about the Finisher Secrets, is that you want to leverage your time and work on those $1,000 tasks, $1,000 per hour tasks, instead of focusing on those $10 per hour tasks. And so that's something that Javier talks about in these newsletters. So be sure to check it out. Again, it's finishersecrets.com/Paul. But yeah, strategy number 1, kiss it. Kiss the 1, 2, 3 planning method. So basically, so it's keep it silly, simple. Keep it silly, simple. So there's a 1, 2, 3 planning technique. And so this will help you get clarity when you're planning your day. And so number 1, this is your must-do task of the day. And this is basically it must impact your goal. So think about your goal for the quarter. And this is one of the things that Javier is pretty, he likes to do things this way. I mean, you can introduce more goals, but if you can focus on one goal per quarter, I think you'll see a lot of results when you have that focus towards that one thing. And so he usually encourages having maybe 1 or possibly 2 goals, but keeping it very simple. That way you know exactly what your goal is. And so 1 is your must-do task. So it impacts your goal. 2, and then you have, this is funny, it's like 1 must-do task, 2 might-do tasks. So what are those tasks that you might get to? But if you don't get to them, it's not the end of the world. You're going to make sure that you get your must-do task done. And then 3 is quick reminders or upkeep tasks. Shouldn't take over 15 minutes. And one of the cool things about this method is that it brings a lot of clarity when you're time boxing. And so for me personally, like as I've started working on projects, a variety of projects, typically in a given day, for larger projects, most of the time I can only get to 1 to 3 of these projects. And, it's frustrating because in a perfect world, we get everything done in a short amount of time. But the reality is, to do these things well, it has to have the time allocated to it. So I think it just helps you be more realistic about your time and the time that you have. And not only that, but this 1-2-3 method can be used with this one-page planning system that Javier has. So if you want to check that out, it's you just sign up for that newsletter and he gives you this one-page planning system for like your week. So you can plan out your week. It's pretty nifty. It's very keeps you focused on what's important. It helps you time block your tasks. So be sure to check that out. And so that's the 1-2-3 method. Is you got your must do, might do, and reminders. What are those quick reminders or upkeep tasks that you need to get done, but shouldn't take more than 15 minutes each? And so that's a really simple way to plan out your day. So you're keep the end goal in mind. You're working towards that goal. And it helps you every single day to have something to work on towards your goal. Strategy number 2 is eliminate arbitrary goals. So 92% bail on their goals within weeks. That's what it says here. The culprit, vague goals. So don't be that person that says, I want to improve my mindset. I want to, just like, I want to write more. How much more do you want to write? So this is where it's important to make specific, measurable, and time bound. These are the 3 elements, the secret sauce to creating a goal that will rock your world. And, it's going to be amazing to see the results once you get a goal that is not vague, very precise, and that you know exactly what you need to do to get it done. And one of the other aspects that really fascinated me in my conversations with Javier, since he's like a big into productivity and knows a lot about it, was that when you make your goal, you should be very confident that the action steps that you set up to achieve your goal will bring you like there. You should have like a 9 and maybe an 8 or above out of 10 in your confidence that you can complete a task. And so like all of a sudden it's like, I know that like if I set this goal, I should have that confidence that these steps, these action items that I'm going to be taking are going to bring me to that goal. And if you don't have a clear goal, you are going to be like unsure what you need to do to get there. And so it's so important that you make it very specific and measurable and time bound so you know when things need to get done. So specific, what is it exactly that you need to get done? Measurable, you need to throw in numbers, and time bound, set a due date, max 90 days out. And he's got like this goal setting guide that's available on his website, which is fantastic. It's like basically walks you the process that you need. So you need to, identify your goal. And one of the fascinating things that Javier told me is that oftentimes you want to look at what's a problem in my life, and that by solving this problem, I would be much better off with that problem solved. And so all of a sudden, instead of like trying to figure out this far-reaching goal, it's like, what am I experiencing right now that if I solve that, it would bring about great results, or it would really improve my life. And so that's something really insightful. So a good example of a 90-day goal might be get my first 200 customers by December 31st. And this is something that you need to realize that like this might not be realistic if you've never run a business before. So maybe keep that in mind. Maybe you can realistically get 100 customers. And so let's say you're midway through the quarter, you've done business before, and you're setting a new goal for the upcoming quarter. So for that, you might see, okay, last quarter, I got 100 customers. I want to increase it by 200. And so I will say a goal like this: increase the number of customers from 100 to 300 by December 31st. So you have that action. You know exactly when. One second, I got to turn off the AC. And we're back. Sorry about that. AC turned on. So then you spot the gap. You see, okay, what is the gap between where I am and where I need to be. And then you're going to identify any problems or blockers within the gap. This will help you realize what's going to be your focus areas that you need to get done in order to make sure that you can reach your goal. So an example might be little website traffic. If you're trying to sell more products, low conversion rate. What can you do to improve the click-through rate? What can you do to improve people landing on your page and ordering your product? It's very simple. Limited budget for advertising. Maybe you have to bump that budget up in order to accomplish this goal. Just some things to keep in mind. And then the next step would be to brainstorm solutions to your problem. For this goal. So maybe that could be post daily valuable content on Instagram, rewrite product page, create a weekly newsletter, reach out to influencers. These are all actionable steps that you can take to make sure that you're going to be closer to reaching your goal. And when you're in the brainstorm phase, don't filter out. Just let anything and everything come. And that way you don't filter out ideas, because you never know, the best ones might be one of those crazy ideas that you initially think, oh, this is crazy, it would never work, or it's just too difficult. Write it down. You might be surprised that might be the best one. So those are just examples of how to set goals and to identify what could be blocking your way to achieving them. But again, the strategy number 2 is eliminate arbitrary goals. Make sure you have specific, measurable, and time-bound goals. You need to accomplish it by a certain date, max 90 days out. They did this interesting research, and they found that people typically do better with smaller time frames for goals. So one of the things I like about the Finisher's Journal is they allow you to set these weekly goals. And so it gives you because I guess they have this period when you're halfway through a goal where you kind of you kind of lose your momentum. And so when it's shorter, it's easier to keep that momentum going. So maybe setting a year goal might not be realistic for you to keep at it. But if you set check-ins on a monthly or quarterly basis, you might be more likely to accomplish it because it's more realistic than a far out 5-year, 10-year. I think it's still important to set those goals, but it's also, reality is important to face as well. That's strategy number 2. Strategy number 3 is to make sure you track your progress or lose. This is where a lot of people might stumble, is they don't measure it. They don't have a scoreboard to keep track of how they're doing. Because a soccer player, for example, that they give this example, a soccer player loses steam without a scoreboard. You can lose your motivation when you're not tracking. So identify what metric, and this is where your goal comes in handy. If you've got the increased customers, you know exactly what number you're going to be focusing on. And every single week you can check in and see the progress that you're making. And this is very rewarding when you can see hey, last week I only had 10 customers. I've doubled that. Or I tripled it. That way you can see the progress that you're making and keep the momentum going. It's not just oh, this is a far out goal. I don't know. So for example, for me, when I was trying to read 40 books last year, I broke it down. I was trying to read about a book, maybe a week or two. And so that really helped me identify how much time I needed to spend reading a single book, or breaking it down per month. How many books do I need to read per month? There's variety of ways of doing this. You can have that bigger goal, but sometimes you need to break it down so that you can get hold of reality, if you will. Strategy number 4, raise the stakes. Nothing fuels action like pressure of high stakes. So use external accountability as your power boost. So that's what it says here. So one of the ways that it says this is publicly stating your goals equals motivation on steroids. And they give this example. I can't believe someone did this. But this person tweeted, "I will write an actual book in 2023. I will delete my entire brand if I don't. Screenshot this and hold me accountable." I imagine this person is going to write a book in 2023 if they haven't already, because otherwise they will have to deal with many people sharing their screenshot with them. And that'd be crazy to have to get rid of an entire brand if they don't follow through. That's a pretty extreme example, but basically that's, a template that you could use. I will primary outcome goal statement right here. By X date, I will blank if I don't, and screenshot this and hold me accountable. So that's an example of how to use that. And strategy number 5, make your planning routine a no-brainer. So I'm actually rereading Atomic Habits right now. I just picked it up again. It seems like one of those books that's good to revisit every once in a while. Has some great nuggets of gold inside of it. But, one of the things that it talks about is habit stacking, making it stupidly simple so that every time you do something, you know exactly what you're doing, when you need to get it done, and there's no questioning about it. And so you want to make certain things automatic. And so basically, this will help you remove any obstacles. Again, like making a good habit, there's a couple of things that go hand in hand with making good habits. One is setting aside a time and a place to do the habit. So, for example, if you're setting a new routine of planning using the 1, 2, 3 planning method, where you plan your must do, might do, and reminders, then you will simply maybe have it that first thing you wake up, instead of checking your phone, you're going to plan your day, or the night before, even better. You plan your day and check in, see how things are going, how your progress is going. And so this will help you get there. So 1, habit stacking. 2 is the 1, 2, 3 method. 3, set clear and realistic goals. Again, you should have confidence that by the end of the time period, you have accomplished that goal. This shouldn't be high in the sky. Someday, hopefully, it's like, no, you can do it. You can do it. And then 4, progress tracking. Check in, see how you're doing. Make sure that you're heading towards your goal. And then number 5, external accountability. Who is going to keep you accountable to taking action, whether that's a friend, a family member, just someone that can keep you on track to hit your goals. Super important. So this actionable tip was brought to you by, again, the Finisher's Secrets newsletter. I'm so grateful for them to sponsor this newsletter. Again, full disclosure, I have done work for them in the past, but it's just, they just provide such a great, valuable resource that it's just so easy to recommend and so easy to, the sponsorship is just so natural because I really believe that they're offering a product that will help you improve your productivity and keep you away from distractions, because as you know, your phone can be full of distractions, but when you've got a pen and paper, it's harder to get distracted. Not impossible, but a lot harder because there's no notifications on your paper planning. And so I will tell you, like, I've switched back and forth between digital tools for planning and paper planning. But most of the time that I've switched to digital tools for like just daily planning, I typically find that I miss the paper, the pen and paper. There's just something about that tactileness. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'd be curious to hear what you guys use and love and recommend. So again, by using the link finishersecrets.com/Paul, you'll get the weekly actionable tips. But not only that, you will also get a 1-page planning system for you, the listener. Just visit finishersecrets.com/Paul. So I wanted to finish this episode by just sharing some of the things that I'm enjoying right now. And so first of all, I'm reading, as I told you, I read 40 books last year, and I'm getting back into I will tell you, I fell off the reading train. Like after reading 40 books, I was just like so out of like, I was just like, I'm done reading books for a little bit. I think I still read some books, but it's just like, I took a little bit of a a break from reading that many books in such a short amount of time. And so, yeah, it was my goal for 2023, I guess. But still, I think it's super important to read. And I'm getting back into reading some books. And one of them is Naval Ravikant's Almanack. It's actually available online for free. So I'll include that in the show notes if you want to check it out. I think it's navalmanack.com, and it's spelled an interesting way. So be sure to check the show notes so you get that. Or you could just search it online as well. But some of the ideas, Naval's got some very interesting ideas. So I just wanted to share some of the takeaways. There's been quite a few, but here are some of them. He talks about ownership is a way to wealth. So if you trade your time for money, like obviously that's, an honest way to make a wage. But if you're looking to build long-term wealth, then you might look to own businesses, property, stocks, capital, code. So using technology to make leverage, content, or intellectual property. Those are all fantastic ways to generate wealth where the actual product itself is helping earn money and you don't necessarily have to be directly trading your time for the income. So I thought that was interesting. Obviously, very simple, basic premise, but sometimes it's interesting to hear someone say it the way that they say it. And Naval's a very interesting character, and I think he's got a very interesting story to share as well. The other thing that I thought was fascinating, I think he was answering a question of like what things people should ask themselves like at a young age, and he came up with 3 important questions that I thought like that makes sense. So the 3 important questions to ask yourself is where you want to live, where should you live, and he talks about you want to spend a decent amount of time making these decisions because these decisions could shape the rest of your life. For example, if you want to become a tech company, maybe you think that you want to live in Silicon Valley because that's where a lot of startups are, or I'm sure there's other places as well now that time has expanded. So where do you want to live? Where you live, and then who you spend your time with. Who are you going to live your life with? Who are the people that you're going to let into your life and influence you? Because the people that you surround yourself with will definitely impact who you become. And I will say that that's so true. And they will shape how you think, and like what you value will probably be similar. It reminds me of what Mr. Beast would do, where he spent hours and hours with other YouTubers and they all shared their ideas. And I mean, I think it worked because this guy is probably one of the best YouTubers and content creators out there. So, who do you want to spend your time with? And then thirdly is what do you want to work on? What do you want to spend your life working on? And I think this is such an important question to ask. Some people just chase the money and they just take the job, and it's kind of like, what do you want to be known for when you're gone? Like, he was really good at playing video games, or he was really good at ice fishing. That might be your thing, and that's the thing that you want to pursue, but maybe not. And so I think it's an important question to ask yourself. Where do you want to, what do you want to work on? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to spend your time with? And I think that'll help you gain clarity. The questions that you ask yourself, one of my professors once said, like, questions give birth to learning. So the questions that you ask yourself could help you move along further in your life and help you move in the direction you want to go. The other things were it's just like the idea of leverage. And I think Alex Hormozi actually is a big fan of this idea of leverage. And actually, I wanted to share this this quote. This is a tweet from Alex Hormozi that is closely related to, actually, I stole this from Finisher Secrets. They have this on their blog. Javier showed it to me and I thought this was fantastic. But the quote goes like this: people who achieve goals faster don't actually move faster. They achieve more with every step. This is the basis of leverage. They get more for what they put in. If you're not moving as fast as you want, you may be doing the wrong stuff. And so I thought that was really fascinating. Like, as far as like, sometimes it's not a productivity question. Maybe you're just working on the wrong stuff because you can't necessarily change the amount of time that you have. You can't necessarily change those factors, but you can change, the leverage that you have for a certain thing. And then he suggests spending 1 to 2 days just on ideation, like spending time thinking about ideas. But yeah, going back to the idea of leverage, this was an idea that I've heard from Alex Hormozi. That's what made me think of the tweet. But leverage through capital, code, or content. These are like 3 aspects that you can leverage to increase your earning potential. And then one of the things that he talks about is learn the principles that have an impact. So basic arithmetic, mathematics, microeconomics, philosophy. Go back to the roots of like ideas instead of just like focusing on the latest information that like is probably distilled from these sources. Sometimes it's good to go back to the source, the great philosophers. Here's a fun one. So my buddy Javier and I, so Javier, if you remember, he was on this podcast. Every once in a while he jumps back in here, but we're doing this app called Fantasy Hike. Right now I'm in day 6. I'm 23 miles into it, and it's just fun. It's like basically you're going to Mordor. So Lord of the Rings fans would love this. And you've got different characters that you can challenge. So they have Mr. Underhill, who is insanely fast. This guy is booking it. I think he takes breaks every once in a while, but like right now he's like 88.8 miles ahead of me. And this is day 6. So he is booking it. They got John Snowflake, Alice Wonderfoot, Harry Foot Potter. I just thought the names were hilarious, or he can do none. But yeah, me and Spencer are looking to make our way to Mount Doom to cast the ring in the fire. Right now, my estimated arrival is July 4th, 2024. If you want me to keep you updated on my progress, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to share updates as I journey to Mount Doom, but it's just a fun way to keep yourself active. And so the other things that I've been thinking about is like time blocking. So I've been a little bit more intentional about like how I time block my time. So I try to put in those major tasks first, like those the most important things, and then try to fit in where I can the other things. So again, like really accomplishing 1 to 3, maybe mostly 1 to 2 tasks in a given day. And so it helped me like realize how much time certain things take, which I think is really insightful about how much you can actually get done, and make sure that you're not trying to be frantic in executing those tasks. If you ask me, do I time block perfectly? No. It's you do things and then you realize like, oh, I guess I didn't have time to do that. Or, I guess I can move things around. So sometimes things happen and change. That's okay. But I find that having a plan to start with is usually better than not. So something to keep in mind. So what I would start with, if you're looking to get started with time blocking, keep it simple. Just plan maybe a morning session of deep work and then an afternoon session, and then fit your other tasks and meetings in between that or around it. But I find that is a good way to schedule your time, is morning, afternoon work. That can do it. And I'm also going to be digesting the time audit that I did. I did 2 weeks of tracking pretty much every single minute of my waking and sleeping life. So I think there'll be interesting results from that. Another cool thing that I've been using recently is a timer. So this little thing, you can set the time and then just hit the button, and then you got a timer. You can see how much, focus for a certain amount of time on a single task. That just helps you monotask, which, people say that you can't multitask. So monotasking is helpful because then you're not worried about getting more things done in a given period of time. It's like, this period of time, I'm just going to work on this one task. And the last thing I wanted to share is like the idea of short content. I've been like thinking about it quite a bit because as a content creator, I like to create content that people will benefit from and that resonates with me that I can share with people. However, I have a problem with short content. It's just like the format is not my favorite, because I feel like there's not much information that can be distilled within that short period of time. And the medium that people are on, is a wealth of distractions. So it's in the way that we learn. I don't think it really is good for that. And so that's just something that I've been thinking about, is that it might not be the best way to create best format. I think it's a great discoverability format. And so like if you're just looking for people to discover maybe your long form content, I think that's great, or it'd be introduced to you and your brand. That's great. However, I do think for a long-term situation, I would recommend focusing in on the longer form content, because I think it has a longer life, a longer shelf life, if you will. So the content that you create on a podcast or on a video, I think will live on a much longer than a short reel that is here and then gone, and little discoverability after that point. Whereas podcasting and like YouTube, for example, people can go back, they can search for that content, and it might be useful to someone in the future. So just something to keep in mind. I don't know. It was just fascinating to me, so I thought I'd share with you. And then again, like if you want to check out any of these resources mentioned, I'll try to leave links in the description. If not, comment and I'll share it with you. Super excited about that $100 million leads book launch. I think it's August 19th. Again, I'll leave a link if you want to check that out. So that's all for this week. Like a lot of stuff. I think this is one of the longest episodes I've had in a while. But if you made it this far and you're interested in boosting your productivity, again, I recommend you check out the newsletter from Javier, the Finisher's Secrets newsletter for actionable weekly tips on productivity. Go to finishersecrets.com/Paul to check that out. And until next time, my friends, stay messy.